Hi friends, welcome back to Love Good Kitchen, or welcome if this is your first time with us. My name is Matthew, and let's be foodie friends on the internet and cook together and talk about kitchen stuff. Sounds fun to me. Today we are going to do a retro recipe, and this is another one that I have not tried before, but I think it sounds like fun. We're gonna do Italian Frank spaghetti. Yes, what? It's essentially some noodles with some cut up hot dogs in sort of a marinara-ish sauce, and you bake it in the oven and put some cheese on. Sounds good to me. If you don't like noodles or you don't like hot dogs, you could certainly swap that out for some chicken sausage, or I suppose you could leave out the meat. Maybe putting little chunks of fresh mozzarella in would be good. So you could switch it up. But anyway, we're gonna give it a try. We're gonna throw it back to, I don't know what year. It did not have a year listed on the recipe. I'm gonna guess like late 50s, early 60s. That would be my guess. But at any rate, I do not have it on yet, but I'm going to preheat my oven to 375. So we got that going, and I also have some water that's getting ready to boil on the stove because we need to cook our spaghetti noodles according to the package directions. However, I thought that I had spaghetti noodles. I do not. So we are not using spaghetti. We're using a mixture of rigatoni noodles and a little bit of cavatappi, and I think it'll be just fine with this recipe to swap out the noodle shape. And also blend them together. Now, just a note of warning, you can do that if the cook times on the pastas are the same. In this case, the rigatoni and the cavatappi, the package, the cook time was the same. It's about 11 or 12 minutes. If you have pastas that have different cook times, do not put them together, because then you're either gonna have a pot of mushy noodles or undercooked noodles, or somewhere in between, because they don't cook at the same rate. So just a note about that. So we have that going. I'll try to keep my ears peeled and eyes peeled for the water to boil, and we'll add our noodles with some salt there. Here, what do we have to get prepared? Let me run down the list here. I'm gonna chop up some onion. We need about a half a cup, and I don't know, but we're just going to cut up this, which is left over from another recipe, and that's what I'm gonna use. So I think that looks like it's gonna be about a half a cup, so we're good. I also will say that the original recipe calls for 4 ounces of spaghetti or noodles to be used in this. That makes me question things. It also says that it makes 6 servings of what? Like a tablespoon? 4 ounces is a quarter pound of noodles. Typically, my family, I'll do at least a pound, if not a pound and a half or 2 pounds of pasta to feed everybody and whatever. So I won't say I split the difference, but I doubled the noodles. So I'm gonna do 8 ounces, half a pound, and some of the other sauce ingredients I'm going to double, and I think it's gonna be fine. If it's not fine, we'll experience it together. But anyway, so I have 8 ounces of the noodles that are ready to go in there. Approximately half a cup of onion that we're gonna chop up. And then it says 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. This is just what I have left, so we're going to do this number of cloves of garlic. Can you ever have too much garlic? Probably, but I don't think so in this case. And then I have the size can of tomatoes that they list in the recipe is no longer in manufacturing. So this is a 14.5 ounce can of diced tomatoes. That's what we're gonna use. You could also use the whole tomatoes. So that's what we're gonna do. And then we've got 6 ounces of tomato paste. And then we're gonna start off with half a cup of water. We might need to adjust that and add a little more as we get going. We'll see what it looks like once it all starts coming together. We've got a tablespoon of Worcestercire sauce. And then we have here in our little spice mixtures, We've got 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano, and then we're gonna cut up 8 hot dogs. There happens to be 9 in this package, so I'm just gonna do all 9 because I'm not gonna leave one lonely hot dog in here. But you could use turkey hot dogs. You could use the kind that have the cheese in. Whatever you want to use. It's all good. And then we also need some grated Parmesan that we're going to put on top as we dish it up. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's do this first. Let's do our garlic first. Get this going. If I can, there we go. And I'm going to be using my handy dandy Pampered Chef garlic press because I use that for everything. And I'm gonna take I don't know what that's called, the woody part off of the garlic. But when you use the garlic press, you don't even really have to peel them very well because it comes off in that process. But I don't know what that's called. What's the woody sticky together part that holds the cloves together? I'm just taking that off. Maybe a little bit of the paper. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna take out the little tool. I think we'll put it in this dish. Give it a squeeze. You can use that little thing to scrape it off. Good. That goes in there. If they're small, I find that I can do a couple at a time. If they're larger, then I don't do that because I feel like then we tend to waste them. And we don't want to waste. Okay. Most of these are on the smallish side for garlic, so I don't know, I think that was about 8 cloves of garlic, but they're small. Okay. Put both of those in. I like this little tool because you can just take the skins right out of the compartment, and then really all you have to do is like sanitize or wash the garlic press. You don't have to fish the bits out. Let me grab a towel for my hands as we go along here. Okay, so garlic. Boom, it's done. Let's do our onion. Give this a chop. I don't think I'm gonna do it super finely chopped. We're just gonna get it going here. We are gonna saute it to soften it. I'm not a huge raw onion fan. I can do it a little bit if there's a little bit in some potato salad or something, but otherwise, and this is probably TMI, but it burps up on me and it's just not pleasant. So that's that. Okay, onion is done. I hear rumbling, like maybe it's thinking about it. Any moment now, it's gonna be boiling. I decided to use my Rock Crock Pampered Chef Dutch oven to boil the noodles. I don't have a reason, just because. Thought I'd switch it up. There goes the notification to let us know that the oven is preheated, although we've talked about this before. It's not really, because it's only been, what, a few minutes. So it's gonna take a little longer for that to really get up to temperature. So we'll let that go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is put a little bit of olive oil in our pan. Let's get this going. Let's get it fired up. And let's try it on kind of medium-high heat. Put some of this in here. Speaking of the olive oil, that's another sort of, I don't know if pet peeve is the right word for it, that I have. You watch people on YouTube, on Food Network, wherever it is, do some of these recipes, or you read a recipe and it says to saute onion or to cook something up in like a teaspoon of oil or 2 teaspoons of oil. I don't know if I'm living in an alternate reality or what, but if you've ever measured out 1 teaspoon of oil, it's so scant. Even if you're using a nonstick pan, it's just not enough to get it. So, whatever. I kind of eyeball it, and I kind of know how much is going to be needed to coat the onions or veggies or whatever it is that we're sauteing. So anyway, but yeah. I got beef with that. And I know that we shouldn't be using a ton of oil, but it's also vegetable oil or olive oil, so it's not super bad for us. Okay, our water is boiling. Let me get a... Also, I don't know if this is like a myth, an old wives' tale or what, but I always wait to salt my water if I'm boiling up noodles or potatoes. I wait to salt it until it's already boiling, right before I put the food in, because I've heard that you're not supposed to salt the water from the start. I don't know why, or I don't know if that's true. If you're like a food science person or you know, leave us a comment below and let us know, and we'll all be informed. But that's just what I've always done, and that's what we're doing today. So we're gonna add some salt. I also eyeball this. I do a generous finger scoop of salt. And a pinch more. Just for good measure, because there's nothing grosser than bland noodles. Have you ever forgotten to salt the water for noodles? I have, and it's gross. So we don't want to do that. I'll just leave it there. And, well, it didn't take long for it to come back up. So I'm going to add our noodles. Give it a stir. If you can, you really should stir your pasta periodically as it's cooking to prevent it from sticking to each other or the bottom of your pan, but especially when you first dump it in to the water, you got to give it a swirl, and I think you'll be much happier with your life if you do that. Okay, let's do timer. We're going to do some of that, and we're ready. Okay. This is heating up. I can feel it. So we're going to do our onion and garlic. We're going to saute that up first. And then, let's see. After that, we put in the other ingredients, which is our tomatoes and tomato paste. Put it in there. Our water, our Worcestercire, and our seasonings. Okay, so while we're waiting, I'm going to wait for that to heat up a little bit more. Let's cut up our weenies. I love this. This takes me back to my childhood-ish. I don't know why I say that, because we did have some Corelware at home as a kid. We did not have this pattern, so I don't know why I say that, but it just makes me think of that. Let me get some scissors to cut this open. Should we be fancy, darling, and cut our hot dogs on the diagonal? I think yes. Maybe that should be a rule. All hot dog weenies must be sliced on the diagonal. I don't know. I'm in a weird mood apparently. Let's get rid of these. Let's give our noodles a stir, because we just talked about that. Okay. Let me slide this over so our hot dog bowl is closer. Okay, we're gonna go. I don't want to do these super thick. I think about an inch-ish or less would be just fine. There is a channel on YouTube. I don't know that they upload things anymore because unfortunately I think the star of that channel, I think she passed away, but there's a Claire, I think is her first name. She has since passed away, but she would do recipes and food prep that she remembered from coming of age during the Great Depression, and there's some really great recipes on there. It's very entertaining. But that came to mind because apparently during the Depression, hot dogs were pretty cheap. They're still pretty cheap, to be honest with you. And so her family used hot dogs as the meat in several recipes because they could afford it. They could make it stretch during that tough economic time. So, but if you are adverse to hot dogs, like I said, you could use the turkey hot dogs, which are lower fat, a little bit healthier for you. Or, I mean, they have so many different versions. They even have veggie dogs and other stuff. So, if that's a concern, I am positive that there is something out there that would work for you. Okay, so we're gonna add in our onion. Ta-da! And our garlic. I don't know why I'm using, why, we don't know. I don't know why I was using this knife to scrape that in there. Let's see what utensil we're going to use this one. Stir this around. Ooh, it smells good. I'm sorry, but if you don't enjoy the smell of sauteing onions and garlic, I don't know. There might be something wrong with you. Okay. We're going to let that go for another few minutes. I also want to show you, so once we get this all ready to go, put together, we're going to put it into a casserole dish, something that's oven proof, because we're going to bake it in the oven, 375 for about 30 minutes-ish. We'll keep an eye on it. But check this out. This is an old Dutch oven. It's Club brand, but it's retro pink metal on the inside. There is a little blemish on the side there, but it's just, it's superficial. But I love this. I love the color. I love the retro-iness of this, and I thought, how perfect for this recipe. So this is what we're going to use for this today. Let's keep giving this a stir. What are you having for dinner today? Are you cooking? Are you having leftovers? Are you getting takeout? Are you going somewhere to go out for dinner? I'm interested in hearing what you got to say. Leave us a comment below if you're willing to share what was on your menu tonight, or what is on your menu. I don't know what time you're watching this. Maybe you're watching this at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're just going to give that another minute or two, and then we'll start adding in our other ingredients. Oh, I think I omitted one. Did I tell you about the seasonings? Sort of. We have the 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I know I mentioned that, but there's also a tablespoon of sugar, which kind of helps cut the acid in the tomato products, and then the pepper and the oregano. I know I told you about that, but I think I forgot to tell you about the sugar. But we are putting that in along with our Worcester sauce and water. Okay, it's time to add this in. There's that. And then, now it's time to add the tomato paste. I'm using a spoon. You know what I should be using is my mini scraper from Pampered Chef. It's like a, one of those rubber scrapers, but it's like just the perfect size to get in these little cans, which I love. Again, why am I not using that? I don't know. This spoon was sitting out, so we're using it. We're going with the flow. That'll do, that'll do. Okay, we're gonna stir this in. Then we're going to, come on, tomato paste. Just kind of get this stirred in a little bit. Can you see this? I hope you can see on camera. Also, I apologize about the lighting. I know I've said this for like the last 10 videos about the shadow from this across my face. I'm sorry. It's still on my radar. I just haven't found the one for a price that I like, a light that we can use to correct that problem, but someday. It's coming someday. Okay, now we're gonna add in, no, let's do our seasonings first actually. It might not matter, but that's what we're gonna do today. Okay, if you like things with a little heat, you could certainly add some crushed red pepper flakes to this. That would be yummy. Okay, and our water. And we're gonna see what the consistency looks like once we get this stirred in a little bit. Excellent. Do you know what else I just thought of? This is saucy. It's also tomato based, and I really need to be doing this with an apron. Little tomato on my thumb. I did wash my hands right before we started this video, but I'm gonna put this apron on, maybe, if I can figure it out. Let's tie it so I don't splash sauce all over myself, which I still may. Are you a messy cook? I don't know, sometimes I'm messy. Well, that's not true. I'll say most times I'm messy, but I'm not one to just leave stuff. Like, I clean it up pretty much right away, or at least as soon as we're done eating. Okay, I feel better about that. And I don't know that we're gonna add any more water. I'm pretty happy with that consistency. There's the timer for our noodles. Let's go check that, okay? I feel we did have one or two that wanted to stick to the bottom. But I'm not gonna let it. I'm loosening it with my spoon, and I can tell that they're done just by the feel of it with the spoon and by looks. Let's turn that off. Okay. Grab another hog holder. It's time to drain our noodles. job. So good, very good. And I know the bougie chefs, etc., say you should never rinse your pasta. I always rinse my pasta because I don't like it getting all clumped up. I just don't. That's what I like, but you do you. If you like to do the traditional Italian way and don't rinse your pasta because the starch makes the sauce cling to your noodles, go for it. Everybody, this smells good. So people can make fun of this retro stuff all they want, but it's basically like spaghetti with hot dogs. We made a homemade sauce. They probably didn't have as much or any jarred pasta sauce available in the store like we do now back then. So they had to make their own. Yummy. Okay, now we're going to hold this under here in case we drip. I'm going to add in our pasta. Crash. Okay, I'm going to stir it in. While we're doing this though, I'm going to turn this off. I have this extra burner that I like to use if we're cooking together on video because, I mean, I don't have a problem with my backside. I think my butt's okay. I'm happy with it, but I also don't need to be standing with my butt to the camera. I feel like maybe that is unnecessary. Yum! Okay, so let me bring our casserole dish over here. I wonder, you know how I feel about nonstick spray. There are certain instances where I say absolutely, and others where I'm like, I wouldn't, because of the type of pan or depending on the recipe, sometimes it gets gummy or weird. But I think we're okay in this instance. And just to try to prevent any stickage, I'm just gonna give it a spritz, which we did. I was gonna use one of the new pans that I got at Aldi, which I love and the color's great. However, I felt like it was a little too small for this. So today I'm using my Pampered Chef Steam and Saute pan, which is fabulous. It's so easy to clean, it's non-stick, it cooks things up great. And these handles, I'll show you in a second, these handles are detachable. So it's great for storage, etc. So now we're gonna put this into our casserole dish. I don't want to leave any goodies up in there, so let's give it a scrape. It smells good. Okay, so what's gonna happen now? Do I have this off? Yes, I do. Oh, let me show you this real quick. So it's got a little button on here. And you can just take the handle off. Anyway, so that's it. But I love that. It's a great idea. Easier to nest and store and whatever. So I've got our casserole mixture in our, this is a Dutch oven, but whatever. You could use any shape, Dutch oven or a casserole dish, but you do want a lid and you want it to be oven proof. This one is oven proof. So you're gonna put the lid on, you're gonna bake it at 375 for about half an hour. I'm gonna start checking mine around 20 minutes, but I'll let you know. However, stay tuned, because I'll bring you back and we'll see what's going on. Okay, be right back. Okay, we're back. Our Franken spaghetti was in the oven at 375 for about 20 minutes. I checked it at 20 minutes and it was bubbling away. So everything in there was cooked already. We were just trying to heat it through, and mission accomplished. So it'll depend on what vessel you're cooking your casserole in, but in this one it took about 20 minutes. That was at 375. So let's dish some up, shall we? So here. It smells so good. Dish some up here. We're going to sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on there.
I want to do the Parmesan cheese,
I
Daddy.
think that's going to be really good. You want to be the Parmesan cheese helper?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a cheese helper that'll help us out in a little bit. But there you go. Give this a try. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have some thoughts on this, or if you are used to doing something similar with your family. But give us a thumbs up. Like this video if you enjoyed cooking together. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. It's free and it does help us out. So
Daddy,
we
are you
appreciate
done?
that. Almost. And yeah, so this has been fun. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.